Hi, I'd like to welcome you to the pre-service reflection presented by the Office of Community Engaged Learning. Before we get into our topic today, we want to go over the 4 main key practices of creating meaningful engagement. So that's defining community engagement, understanding yourself, identify who you want to engage with, and reflect and stay connected. Our first key principle, defining community engagement, is very important. It's important that before we engage in this work, that we are all aware of what community engagement is and the ways that make it meaningful. While there are almost as many definitions out there as there are people trying to define it, in its simplest terms, community engagement takes a strategic approach to relationships, communication, and interactions between community members and an organization to try and influence outcomes for both. Understanding community engagement strategically allows us to understand how the ways that we engage can be meaningful for everyone involved. By meaningful, we mean that you have the ability to engage in a way that is valuable and responsive to the needs of those around you. So let's reflect on this for about 4 minutes. What does it mean to be engaged with the community? How do you want to show up in your community? As you are reflecting on ways you want to show up in the community, you may have noticed the variety of options you can take advantage of. No one way of engagement is more important than the other. It simply depends on your skill set and how it aligns with addressing a community need. In fact, the Office of Community Engaged Learning has adopted a resource called the Pathways for Civic Action and Social Change that describes a range of possibilities by which we can all be civically engaged in our communities and create social change. The 6 pathways are community engaged learning and research, community organizing and activism, direct service, philanthropy, policy and governance, and social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility. We all need people working within all of these pathways to create a change. However, one person does not need to be involved in each path. It really just boils down to finding out what you're interested in or what you have knowledge and expertise in and getting engaged within that. If you are interested, you can request a meeting on pathways with someone from the Office of Community Engaged Learning to find which pathway best suits you. All that being said, how do we make sure our engagement is meaningful? Learn more about the community and the issue with a critical eye towards history and context. Give space and power to the perspective of those voices who are least heard. Community change work is more effective and empathetic and genuine when local community members and people with lived experiences are empowered in the process. The problem is that these groups are often excluded from the very process that's designed to serve their community. And lastly, access ways where you can contribute to those existing efforts. Our second key principle is understanding yourself. Looking into our identities critically before partaking in community engagement is a vital step in avoiding harm and strengthening the relationships we have within our community. We all need to remember that what we do matters and how we do it matters too. Connecting your skill set with a purpose to make a greater impact is a great way to get involved because it allows you to gain just as much from your community engagement experience as the individuals you are engaging with. The experiences you will have can expand your professional network, increase your knowledge about the community you reside in, and provide hands-on experience. Some of the skill sets you can connect your engagement experience with are outlined in our Drake True Brew skills. Most of them, if not all of these, can easily be strengthened by consistent positive engagement within our community. Let's self-reflect on our skill sets for 2 minutes. What knowledge and skills do you need to be effective in engaging with this community? How can the experience and knowledge community partners have contribute to your learning? Understanding how we can align our skill set is not the only way to understand ourselves. We also need to be mindful of our identity and the privilege and power that we all hold. Privilege is an aspect of our identity that, if unchecked, can hinder your ability to relate to others. Simply put, the privilege we hold is boiled down to the access and advantages that we have not earned in relationship to our identity. Diversity speaks on how we interact with different mixes of people and identities different from our own. We should not only be aspiring for diversity in the individuals around us, but also in the experiences that we choose to engage in as well. Empower, the ability to influence and or act. Let's break that down. Individuals have power, which includes free will and the ability to make decisions, but there are also many other types of power. History has power, laws have power, ideas have power, money has power. These and other types of power affect the amount and the type of influence or power particular individuals have. Let's keep in mind that power difference exists amongst our communities and affects the relationships we can have. We also hold privilege and it's not evenly distributed. And lastly, both power and privilege shape our world and our experiences. For 2 minutes, let's take time to ourselves to reflect on how we can use our understanding of our privilege and power as a basis for action through community engagement. Our next key practice is to identify who we want to engage with. Thankfully, the Office of Community Engaged Learning makes this very easy by providing resources that outlines the various opportunities to get involved. The CEL website and newsletter is an easy one-stop shop for resources and information in regards to partnerships that we have in the community. We also have various student employees who organize community engagement programs that you can all get involved in. We have a mini grant where you can apply to receive funds that will help support you with the resources needed to organize your own community engagement opportunity. And we also have the Equity-Based Service Learning Toolkit where you can dig deeper into concepts around identity and diversity in relation to community engaged learning. Our last key practice is to reflect and stay connected to the community. This practice is all about tapping into every aspect of the experience, clarifying our thinking, and honing in on what really matters to us. The DEAL model is a great way to engage in critical reflection in a 3-step process. D reminds us to describe the experience objectively by answering the questions who, what, where, when, and why. E tells us to examine the experience by comparing it to previously set learning goals. And AL prompts us to articulate the learning experience by reconsidering it as new information. So let's chat about our next steps for 4 minutes. How will you continue the path that you're on beyond this training? What are your next steps to bring what you learned from your experience back to your role at Drake? Thank you again, and I hope this training video has been helpful to you as you start on this journey of engagement and meaningful change. Your action and dedication helps us all in this community and ensures that we're creating sustainable change towards community growth. For more information on this topic, please contact the Office of Community Engaged Learning at servicelearning@drake.edu or at Drake Service on our social media platforms.